Hello, viewers and listeners. This is the old Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. Every time you hear me say, organize, don't criticize, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be telling you the same thing. If you continue to criticize the human enemies of mankind, their relatives, and their financial supporters, you're not going to get anywhere in this world. And I didn't say in America, I say in the world, and I'm talking about black folks worldwide. You have to understand that the human enemies of mankind determine your destiny from birth to death in all areas of activity: politics, economic development, religion, leadership, and all the other areas that's responsible for keeping men, women, and children thriving as real human beings throughout the world. And today I have a "What do you think?" talking point that I will be addressing in this hour. And then I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that black people can put together, and partnerships. I call them strategies and creative partnerships with themselves through their denominations. I will talk about the 9 major black denominations that have over 32.5 million members worldwide. And then next week, I will be giving you a proposal, or sharing with you a proposal as to what black people can do in their religious denominations to change their world before December the 31st, 2029. For the last 10 years, I have been telling you through various social media sites, websites and so forth, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, seminars and workshops, that black people worldwide don't have but 6 years left to get out of that old station that they are in, that in many cases they allowed themselves to be in, and that is to be pegged as a member of a permanent underclass, a non-citizen constitutionally, and a person that is doomed to go out of existence as we know it after December the 31st, 2029. Folks, I'm not saying that you all are going to be killed. I am saying you will be put on the back burner economically, politically, socially, and leadership particularly, and you will not be significant as a so-called non-citizen in America nor in the world. And that's why during the next 2 or 3 sessions of the old Henderson Real News, Organize, Don't Criticize, I'm going to show you with facts that you can change your destiny because you have the facility, the talent, the funds, and other resources to change your life, and you can rule yourself in those 5 activities that I've been talking about. Again, they are education and training, economic development, religion, principles of politics, we like to call it leadership, and politics. Folks, if you don't control these areas of activity in the communities where you're in the majority, you can hang it up, and criticism will not help you at all. Now, this is something different here that I'm going to do first. I have what we call a talking point called "What do you think?" We're not taking call-ins today, and I want to tell you that we'll do that later on. We're going to be taking call-ins, and the guests that we have will be sent to us through Zoom or some other media source. And many times we're going to have a person live and in living color, or any color, talking to us during this show, the L. Henderson Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize. But today, what do you think talking point is about something that black people get excited about in a negative manner. And this talking point, we call it "What do you think?" And it says that Donald Trump says he loves black folks and they love him. And he proves it, he says. Think about it. What do you think? Donald Trump says he loves black folks and they love him. And during a speech, and you are determined why he's saying this, during one of his speeches, Donald Trump called President Joe Biden a very nasty and vicious racist. Then he suggested that the mugshot of his arrest in Fulton County, Georgia, last summer boosted his popularity among black voters. And this is what he said. He said, I got indicted for nothing, for something that is nothing. Trump told the black conservatives, I got indicted for a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that's why black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. Think about it, folks. Is this a good political strategy? At the end of this little commentary, you're going to have to say what you think among yourselves, among your family members, when you go to church and when you deal with your community organizations. That's the first allegation as to why you black folks love Donald Trump, according to Donald Trump and his campaign team. The other thing he said, and I'm quoting, my mugshot, we have all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. You see black people walking around with my mugshot, you know? That's true. According to research, a lot of black folks are walking around with his mugshot on their T-shirts, front and back. Now, this is a strategy, according to some, to help the Republican Party recruit black folks. And when I give this conclusion, you're going to be surprised as to what the facts are. And this is one thing that some of you will bring yourselves to tears about, because the people that love the Democrats usually, according to the Democrats, will stay with them forever. Then you will find if you tell a Democrat that a black person is favoring Republicans on the state and national level, they will think you're crazy. They say, why would you go to the Republican camp when we have always looked out for you? The question again is, what do you think? And Trump and his boys are saying that in November 2020 election, they have found that they will get more black votes in 2024 because they are looking at Joe Biden's declining poll numbers. And according to the Democrats, I'm talking about the state Democratic primary earlier this month, the polls show, ladies and gentlemen, that black voters are turning away from Biden's policy, with the president slipping, his leads are slipping with people aged 30 and among Hispanic voters. Think about it. These are basically new voters that are leaving the Democratic Party. A lot of people under 30. They usually love the Democrats, especially during former President Obama's term. Millions of young people voted for the first time. A lot of the Democrats voted for the Democrats. I mean the Hispanics. But now, folks, according to the latest information, many Democrats are disappointed with Democratic leadership because they have fallen short in two things, and that is addressing and correcting persistent issues affecting the black population. And this has been going on ever since the early 1960s. Some polls are saying that black folks, you all are going to make some major shifts in your voting habits. in 2024. Some say from 19 to 24% of blacks and a large number of Hispanics will be voting for the Republicans. That is bringing you to the point of answering this question. What do you think? Now, I want you to talk about it among yourselves, your families, and determine who and when you are going to vote. And then when you get through talking with each other, I want you to tell your listeners and your viewers, your family and others, Donald Trump says he loves black folks, and they love him. What do you think? We're not going to analyze this anymore, folks. We're going to let you make your own decision. Because since we only tell you how to organize, we're going to let you criticize this point that I make at this time. We call it talking point. What do you think? Now let me tell you something that all of you need to know, and most of you already know it, but you don't believe it. Some of you have been saying for years that with all the black people we have in these churches throughout the world, these so-called black denominations that comprise about 32.5 million members worldwide. I talk about this from time to time. So today I'm going to show you what you can do if you start thinking about your future, currently and for the next 300 years. I also want you to think about what I'm sharing with you today. What do you think? Are you in a position where you want to maintain your pathway to destruction, where you have no ability at all to determine your destiny from birth to death, where you are going to be depending on the Republicans or the Democrat to take care of you? Many black people are always looking and expecting and praying for someone to take care of them. Not all, but many. About 90% of them. So today, when I give you a summary of the 9 historical African American denominations, you are going to see, and I will be very specific in the next parts, part 2 and part 3, to show you that if you use certain principles, the Democrats, the Republicans, the industrial leaders in America and the world will be beating a path to the black door. And it can happen if the churches get together and put what I call together creative partnerships with other black churches and denominations. Now, today, I'm just going to give you a summary of the major black denominations and give you a little short history about the names of these organizations, when they started, the membership, where they are located worldwide, and how they for years have been working separately and getting nowhere. And we are going to show you how if they would pool their resources, their talents, their funds, and their thinking members that can think beyond the denomination, that can think about pooling resources, that can think about strategies and creative partnerships with other churches, with community organizations, with the government and others, and stop thinking about we have a separation of church and state, and the church can't get with these state agencies and put what we call creative partnerships together and change their lives, the lives of their membership. So now let's look at the first major historical African American denomination that a lot of you all love. And the first one is the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Now this is an old organization. They've known, a lot of you call it the AME. Now this organization started in 1787, and today it has 3.7 million members worldwide. And they are located primarily in the United States, but they also have a presence in Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean. They also have colleges and seminaries. They support over 12 colleges and seminaries throughout the United States and other parts of the world. Now, next time, you're going to see how all of this is going to fit together. So that's the first one, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the famous AME. Now, since they started in 1787, you find, just like all the other religious denominations in the world, starting from the time Jesus walked the earth, after a few years, they always split. They form what we call other denominations. Some books and research documents call them cults and so forth. And they do it because friends get together, debate on the news of the day, look at their biased interpretation of the Bible, and if they can't persuade one to take their opinion in the Bible, they break away from them and start their own church. And this is what happened to the second historical African American denomination. They are called the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, the AME Zion. Now these jokers started a few years later. The mother church started in 1788, and the African Methodist Zion Church, the AME Zion, started in 1796. They were together 20 years before they broke away. Now, they started in New York City after they split from the Methodist Church. And the membership of the AME Zion, and they have some here in Mississippi and many other places in the South, the North, and the East. They also have memberships in churches in Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean. And right now, give or take, the AME Zion Church has over 1.4 million members worldwide. They also have colleges and seminaries that's affiliated with the AME Zion Church. As I told you earlier, you're going to see where I'm going, and you're going to see that when you pool your resources, that you will be the strongest group of people and alleged citizens in the world. And in my introduction, I told you, when you get to be the strongest citizen, the most organized group, one that has the ability to pool the resources, the talents, and the funds in an organized manner, where you can get the thinking of banks, political parties, industrial organizations, and others. And when they start thinking about you, they're going to start visiting with you, asking for your input. They're going to come to you and try to encourage you to join them, to break away from your organization. They've already started this in the black churches, but they're going to be doing it more. And this is why we have the third out of 9 historical African American denomination, and this is the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. They are known as the CME Church. Now, this is a southern church. It started in 1870 by 4 ex-slaves in Jackson, Tennessee. Mexican, the African Episcopal, and now the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. All of them Methodists. They have a different method. Initially, they had one method. They couldn't get along. They broke away. And now they have 3 or 4 different methods using the same Bible with different practices and ideologies. And I wonder what's going to happen to the membership. Are they going to continue to attend these churches? You'll find that out next week. Now let's look at where these people are located. They are located basically in West Africa, Haiti, Jamaica, and the United States. And the CME Church also has colleges and seminaries. Colleges and seminaries. You got what we call a seminary that is very popular. And when I said colleges, I mean 4 colleges in various places in the world. That's 3 of them. And now we have a church that is strong and getting stronger. One I used to deal with. It's called the Church of God in Christ. Now they started in 1897. Now if you notice, these people were what we call urban center in the old days. They had a little education. Some of their leaders were able to read and write. Some had finished high school and started to college. Some had seminary degrees. But right now, the Church of God in Christ finalize themselves to the point where they think they are the most significant black denomination in the world. A lot of them have told me that in the early days when I was associated with them. And right now you find that their membership is not the greatest, but they have about 6.5 million members worldwide, and they are located basically in the United States, but they have a global preference. Asia, Africa, Europe, the Caribbean. You see what I'm leading to? I'm showing you that these black folks that basically have their roots in America have tentacles spread out all over the world. And you just imagine when we finish with part 4 how these tentacles can impact Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, the Caribbean. Folks, you are going to be surprised to find out what you can do to get people to come to your door seeking advice from you, and then you can have some input in politics, in economic development. Tell the President of the United States and other nations what to put in their public policies, when and how they need to change or add something to their Constitution. You don't believe you have this power. Since you don't believe it, we're going to prove it to you and tell you you don't have but 6 years to do this by December the 31st, 2029. Folks, your days are numbered. The writing is on the wall. If you don't do something for yourself and stop begging the Democrat and the Republican parties to do something for you, you are going to be living, and you done heard me say it before, you're going to be living in hell on earth, and you're going to die by the millions and go to hell because you've been misinformed, because of all the division in your churches. They get the same verse in the Bible and tell you whether or not you can be saved, whether you need to be baptized or not, whether you should repent, whether you should have a positive moral code or no code at all, do anything you want, and just before you die, if you have time to think about it, just ask the Lord to forgive you, and you get up in heaven. That's not going to happen, folks. In my opinion, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just a specialist in a lot of things. So now the next one, number 6 of the great black denominations, is the Progressive National Baptist Convention. They call this the PNBC. Now this is a new church. These good old boys and girls started in 1961. There's a history behind all of these churches. They are offshoot of what we call the National Baptist Convention, USA. So I better get to that first, because they started in 1886. And the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, is a large organization. They have over 7.5 million members worldwide, mainly in the United States, and they have a lot of international congregations in some of the areas that I mentioned earlier: Africa, Asia, Europe, the Caribbean. They also have colleges and seminaries: Shaw University, Divinity School, American Baptist College, and many others throughout the United States and a few throughout the world. Now this group, the National Baptist Convention, must have been working with or through or watching what we call the Methodists. They broke up into several denominations with the so-called same Bible with different interpretations. And they started off with the second one in 1961. We mentioned this earlier. It's called a Progressive National Baptist Convention. And we are going to go now to the number seven of the black denominations. And that's the National Baptist Convention, USA. Now, they have some strong members throughout the world. And now you have the United Methodist Church again. They have been fighting each other for a long time. And when you start dividing yourself, ladies and gentlemen, you find that your enemies will come and throw something in your face. And we find that the Methodist Protestant Church had an opportunity to merge with the Southern United Methodist Church. And they told them boys, say, if you come to us and merge with us, we'll have one membership, and we're going to let your leaders become leaders in the United Methodist Church. And we are going to be one Methodist group. And a lot of those black preachers and leaders were pulled aside, given directives as to what positions they are going to get with the United Methodists. And they said, we're going to join with you and pay a yearly fee. And they left their denomination. And right now, in March 2024, a lot of those black churches that left and started leaving in 1939, 1968, joining the United Methodist Church, which has a southern base, the same group that didn't want blacks during and after slavery. They said, we're going to throw a silver tit to you and get you back. You know, I use that word a lot. And Southerners know what a silver tit is and how important it is. It is similar to that little old thing you give to a baby to cool him or her down. Stick it in the mouth. We call it a silver tit in the South, where people give you something to get you satisfied, a little money, a promised position, promise to give you something for your children, promise to give you something in the future once they get you where they want you to be, and you fall for it. Now, when you start this kind of thinking, ladies and gentlemen, you want to look at how you can be diverted. And you find that when you start leaving your church denomination and breaking up, you lose the power you have to have a position of responsibility and influence in America and the world. You will not have a strong global presence. You would have a weak global presence in America and in the world. So if you want to have yourself in position where you can pick up the phone or go to social media, and as the leaders in your church denomination call presidents, ambassadors, and prime ministers throughout the world and tell them what they want to happen, you got to learn to build what I call partnerships and put coalitions and strategies together and create what I call positive partnerships with other black churches, community organizations, and others. We're going to give you all this information, folks, and tell you that if you do this, your life will start changing. And since most of you have been told, and most of you have been brainwashed to believe it, that if you do certain things, you're going to go to heaven when you die, regardless of what you do, if you can repent just before you die. You can be the biggest sinner in the world, kill people, steal, lie, cheat, be unfaithful to your family members and others, be a pagan, a devil worshiper, do anything you want. And just before you die, if you have enough sense to say, Lord, forgive my sins, I want to come and be with you, that you'll be saved. What do you think? Do you believe that, folks? I'm not going to tell you my belief, because what I believe is not important. You are your own salvation. You determine your own destiny by the way you've been trained or not trained. So I want you all to look now at the last one, the last major denomination in America, and that is the Presbyterians. A lot of you don't know that you have a lot of black Presbyterian churches in the United States. Now these are some old people, of course, old groups. Now they were organized in Philadelphia in 1807. And they had a union between the United Presbyterian Church and the Presbyterian Church in the United States. They pool their resources. And you can get the information by doing the same research that we have done. Now they have about 1.3 million members. They had merged up with other groups. But in this small group, they have about 66,000+ black members, and they are located primarily in the United States. They have missions and partnerships worldwide in Africa, Southeast Asia. And these people, the black Presbyterians, have colleges and seminaries too, all over the area. Now, when you put these memberships together, you have about 32.5 members. 98% of them are so-called black or colored members. They have so many billion now, we have already put the calculator on it. They have so much money that they move around every week, until when we put the budget together on this program, what we are researching, we had to call a tax expert to put the calculator on this, because when we did it, we didn't believe it. And we had one of the smartest person around using that calculator, figuring up those funds that the black churches control. I'm going to tell you again, I didn't say millions, I said billions of dollars. And we're going to show you how these groups can get together and pool their resources, their leaders, and do some things that's so significant until you would be amazed. What can they do? They can collaborate with other congregations. And they can do the following. at individual and collective churches. They can put more emphasis on someone that they are neglecting that will give them more resources. And that's community residents versus just their local membership. Now, when you get the community residents involved in your church, whether they are members or not, whether they are tithing or not, if you do the thing that I'm getting ready to tell you now, those folks will come to you. They want to be members. They will want positions of leadership. You get those poor people, the middle class people and others in the community around your church, and you do three things. They'll leave their old church that they don't attend anymore and join yours and start attending and start tithing. And there's three things you can do. It's not going to cost very much at all. You won't have to pay anyone to do it because you have church members that can do all the things I'm telling you and will be telling you for the next 3 sessions. You have your salvation plan already put together by the Action Leadership Institute, and we're going to share it with you. And some of you are going to say it can be done, but we are going to wait until it's done, and you're not going to have the gall to look at your situation and organize where you are with what you have, even if your membership is only 50. So when you start collaborating with other congregations in your area, and you do the three things that I said earlier that I will be sharing with you, you will change your community. The first thing you're going to do when you get those community residents in your church, along with your members, you provide what we call youth services. You put together some education and training programs for your members and the youth in the community. Then you put together some business development classes and courses. And you want to stagger these courses and this training. You want to have organized classes with professional people that know what they are doing. I didn't say people with degrees. I'm saying professionals that are experts in what they are doing. That can be a good straight A kindergarten student that can teach other kindergarten students in your church. That can be that middle school A+ student that knows all they need to know about technology, math, reading. And then you have that business development class. You must teach business development and financial literacy in your church, folks. They don't teach this in these public schools for the 90% of the students. So when you get youth services, education and training and business development in your church on the local level, if you have 50 or 100 members or more, you are getting ready to make a significant change in your community. Now, how are you going to find the people to work for free in your church? Now, some of you know they have a man in Mississippi named Keitha Stamps. He is a public service commissioner now, and I got this idea from him. I had been thinking about it for years, but I never did put a lot of emphasis on it. And one day we had a talk some years ago, and he pulled out a survey that churches could use. And he used this survey, and he started off in the city council in Jackson, moved to the legislature, and now he is a public service commissioner in just a few years because he used this strategy that I'm going to share with you today. And all you preachers and all you leaders, the board of trustees and others in these churches can use the same strategy And you can determine your destiny in 30, 60, 90 days, like Mr. Stamps. This man had a 2-page survey. Now, I'm just paraphrasing. We got to conclude. But this survey said, how many members in your church? How many teachers you have? How many people that's teaching have BS degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees? How many lawyers? How many tax accountants? How many small business people? Just that simple. On and on. Since we don't have any more time, I'll start here next time we do this in part 2 and show you when you put all those folks together, even if you just have a small number in this little church you're in, and then you put them all together, add them up, and then determine what kind of income they make, just what we call guesstimations. You're not going to ask them specifically how much money they're making. That's not the church's business. They'll put a summary there. I make between $30,000 and $60,000. That's all you need to know. And then you can get on the computer and find out exactly what that person make, if he is a lawyer or a teacher or a tax accountant or whatever. And you can start working on your budget there. So folks, since you don't want to change, we're just going to help you know that you can. And if you want to continue to die and pray for the Democrats and the Republicans and think they're going to do something for you, you're going to have Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and their cousins and sons and daughters saying, just like Donald Trump is saying, I love black folks and they love me. And when somebody tells you, folks, that they love you, whether you believe it or not, you start thinking about, well, they love me, I got to love them. My mama taught me that. I got to love everybody. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you love everybody, you're going to have a problem. You're going to be so depleted of your energy, you're not going to even love yourself. You're not going to love your family. You're not going to love your community. You can't love everybody first. You love yourself first. Your family second. Your community third, and then pool your resources, your talents, and your funds. Folks, I want to thank you for listening. This is the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. Serve yourself first. In areas where you in the majority, folks, control your destiny from birth to death. In education and training, principles of leadership, economic development, religion, and politics. You need to know more, folks. All you have to do is call us at 601-201-1957 or email us at clu369@gmail.com, or you can call us at 1-800-492-5186 if you need a speaker to come to your church, school, or community organization or your family reunions and get the real news. Now, we are not geniuses here, but we are not going to tell you everything you need to know in public on these public media sources and sites. You don't do that. That's why black folks in slavery now in America, in the world, they talk too much about their plans. They give that information out before the membership knows what's going on, because they're always going to other folks' institutions talking about what they're going to do. And they get that information. And then they start working with the leaders that's going to do something and get them hooked up in the criminal court system, have others to resign, give others great positions where they leave the leadership position they have to work with them and make them a co-director and pay them twice what they were making. Folks, I must say goodbye to you, because before I know it, I'll be talking another 4 hours and my time is gone. I'll see you next time. And of course, you'll see the Eldridge Henderson and Doc Sill, we call it Doc and Sock, on Thursday night from 8 to 9 And on Friday night from 8 to 9, and all you have to do is tune in to WeBelieveDigital.com. Goodbye, and I'll see you on Thursday and Friday, and of course next week. We're going to get you straight, folks. We are going to get you straight before you die. Because if you don't get yourself straight, you're going to be begging to die. Not physically, but mentally. You're going to be saying, Lord, help me, take me. Some of you don't believe it, but a lot of you do. Because some of you is thinking that right now. Lord, I don't know how I'm going to make it. That's why I'm telling you. Get your denominational leaders together. Pool your resources. Organize. Don't criticize.